You know, uh, when some non-duality teachers tell you, that's it, that's all there is. And you're sitting there trying to understand, what does it mean? Like you try to understand, or you're waiting until something clicks. You see, that's happening because your mind, your separate mind, thinks you have to get something, you have to prove yourself basically to attain acceptance and love. But what the radical non duality teacher is actually doing is he or she is telling you that that's it. Isn't that the highest form of love? It's just you're here. And that's it. You're finally allowed to just be without having to attain something or without having to understand something. Now you're finally allowed to just be and let your nervous system rest without having to become enlightened, without having to become non-dual, without having to wake up. It's just for you to realize that, wait a minute, I can finally rest and be a part of this environment. Now it's not about me. I can finally just be in the company of people who are here for the same reason I'm here. We're all looking for love, basically. If you wouldn't be interested in love, then you wouldn't be interested in non-duality, actually. You wouldn't be interested in enlightenment. It wouldn't be interesting to you. You want to have this feeling of ease, love, relaxation, which is abundance, non-material abundance. So now you're here in this room with a lot of people who are in their heads most of the time. All of you want to have this sensation or this knowing that I can just be here without having to understand something. And that's basically it. Then you're here. Just like right now, you're here. Without having to understand what I'm saying. You know, it's crazy because the heart, and I'm not talking about this blood circulating thing, I'm talking about the metaphysical heart. It's talking such a different language than the mind. Using the mind too much is so painful. It's linked to the brain, it's linked to the nervous system, and when you're thinking all the time about having to achieve something, and having to achieve enlightenment is included, it's such a pain. And it's exactly what enlightenment is not about. It's not about thinking about having to attain something, it's about letting it go. And what happens when you're dropping your mind? It's that metaphysical heart that remains. And it's not your heart, actually. There's not your heart and other hearts. There's just one heart. We have talked about the ego. There's actually not one ego, your ego, and other egos. There's just an ego web. Because your ego is defined by other egos. Your ego wouldn't survive without other egos. There's actually only one heart. But the ego is artificial and the heart is actually your original language. It's when you realize that you're not just a child of your parents, but you're a child of existence. You're not alive because your parents wanted you to be alive. If life wouldn't want you to be alive, you wouldn't be alive. You're a child of life. And it's not something you can understand here. Trust me. It's really something you have to look around and realize that you don't understand it, but somehow you know you're not separate from what's here. Whatever you're seeing is here for you to be one with you. Your cells in your body love you because they're working every day so you can have an experience. Your inner organs are your organs, but also the outer organs are your organs. For example, air, the sun, water. There's no line between inner world and outer world, you and other. You don't have to be so hard on yourself and meditate every day, you know, to achieve love. Go and see some friends. Have some fun. Don't be so strict. Like, I'm a Buddha now. As soon as the heart is talking, the mind dies immediately. And I know for some, those words seem to be empty, don't have a deeper meaning. And I know what it feels like when you're so in your head and your nervous system seems to be conflicted, and it's just a pain to exist. And you can feel that pain in your nervous system. And then you're watching videos from people who are telling you something about love and how beautiful everything is and how you're connected, and you're not feeling it. You're trying to get that feeling out of that video and you want to have it now. It's like you want to have that drug that I have, but it seems like it's just empty. Like those words don't mean anything. I'm just talking about my personal experience, and you're in a total different experience. So I know how that feels like. And then you're trying to meditate to get to that state of love, which is not always helping, because when you're trying to force yourself into love, then that's pushing the love away. It's actually all about doing exactly what this radical non-dual teacher is doing. It's just, that's it. You're allowed to be, actually. But be present. Like this fear. Like fear can only come from the mind. And you can only get to love when you're not in the mind anymore. So you have to gradually come back to the present moment. Become aware of beautiful things. But don't do it with an effort. Like, don't force yourself. It's just start slowly by touching objects. Or maybe if you have a pet, just become very present and feel the sensation of what it feels to be here. You know, when you're totally present and you're touching something, and there's no thought. And when there's no thought, then the nervous system can relax. When you're doing that and the nervous system can finally relax, there will be a point where you can not only look but also see that, wait a minute, I somehow understand, not with my mind but with my heart, that I'm alive because existence loves me. Like life wants me. If I wouldn't be here, then life wouldn't be life. It's just, I feel that me and everything else that exists needs to be part of what exists right now. I need to exist, and you need to exist. Because why? Because we do exist. It's not just a meaningless thing that we have to make sense out of it intellectually. The heart is talking a different language. And it's much more confident. It doesn't care about being right. It doesn't need to be right. It's not that insecure. It doesn't need concepts. It doesn't need a self-image. There's pain involved when you have a self-image. Stop being someone and realize that you have always been part of life. Not just as this body, but there's just the certainty that you've always been a part of life. You're not this artificial intelligence in your head. There's something that is awake in you. It's already awake. It is already meditating right now. Do not look for it. Stop looking. And relax. Calm down. Stop that train of thought. Become aware of simply what is.